talking about. Try and ask you a different question than everyone else has asked you. Take me through your day on the day of All In, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, and just your big...
That says I actually went to sleep the day before, but yeah.
Or the little sleep you may have got. What are the big memories and the big points that stand out through that day? Because that must have been one of the biggest days of your career.
It was, because the last year has built to it. If I would have told you last August, the NWA, which at that point hadn't returned to its thing, would be seen in front of 10,000 people and be on the most talked about independent show, everyone would have laughed. We talked about that. Everyone would have laughed at this idea. And we weren't there because of the belt. We were there based upon the work that Billy and I and Tim Storm and Nick Aldis and Colt Cabana and Crimson and James Ellsworth and everybody put in for a year that got the attention of Cody and the Bucks. We weren't there because of the brand on its own. We were there based upon the work built upon it. So for me, the best moment of that day was right when the bell rung. And there are these two guys standing face to face that we had for 8 weeks told a unique story to build up to these two things. And it wasn't just for Cody, because if it was just for Cody, the reaction would have been silent when Nick walked out. But the fact that you got that rumble, like Rock and Hogan, it was just like, that was the best moment. And I was on the camera on the stage, like shooting the bowl, so like I didn't feel it as much because I wasn't in the center of it. And most of the stuff we shot with 10 Pounds of Gold, I was. Everything. This was the first time I had hired 2 camera guys to be basically shoot for me, because I wanted to be able to have as much perspective. So I didn't feel the finish until I finished the episode that just came out this past week. So for me, that moment where the crowd's going crazy, and here are 10,000 people who a year ago, the NWA was not in their mind, or a rap group, and now these people are caring about it, and it's at that moment was the most talked about thing in wrestling.
Can you tell us anything about the NWA 70th anniversary that's coming up? Anything on the show? Any stars? Any plans? Is there anything that you can tell us?
Yeah, we're again, not knowing when this airs. You know, the NWA World's Championship will be defended. We're bringing back the National Championship. The most often asked question I get is, and this is my joke, it's, when are you bringing back the Missouri Junior Heavyweight Italian Champion? Which there was an Italian who was the Junior Heavyweight Champion. But
when are you?
Thursday. No kidding. But we're bringing back the national title, and our goal is, while this is a replica of the 10 Pounds of Gold, our goal is that champion and championship will be presented differently, as far as, I don't think we'll do a documentary about the national champion, but the content play on it will be unique upon its own, and it's not just going to be a championship. The idea is whoever is that champion will carry an obligation very similar to the 10 pounds, but in a different way content-wise.
Is it almost kind of like the belt is the story and the players are the parts to make it happen?
Yeah, because I think you have to look at this as a brand. You know, as the show is not called the Nick Aldis Show or the Cody Rhodes Show, because they may change. We don't have the ability to have 5-year, multi-million-dollar contracts with people. But what we're offering is a chance for people to be a part of history, and I think that's what people are responding to. When we took this belt out there yesterday, people responded to the belt and wanted pictures with the belt. Like, people are into the idea of something that's iconic, like a Stanley Cup. What's the soccer trophy? Like, what's the most famous soccer trophy?
Like an FA Cup.
Yeah,
Is it still called the FA Cup? Okay.
Yeah, or like the World Cup, or like, or in like some of these trophies are ugly. You know, I have people like, maybe you should change the belt. It's like, you don't change the Stanley Cup. You build the thing. And like the national title, people will have a lot of opinions when they see it, because it is not traditional, but it is very historic in what we're bringing back with it. And for us, that's we want to stay as true to this brand and the energy of Sam Mushnick and Paul Bosch and all these people that came before Billy and I. We want to push forward this idea of what this brand stood for, which is tradition, legacy, and ultimately it's why we're creating it a new way, why we picked YouTube, because our average audience is 26-year-old males. It's not 55-year-old males that people think, oh, the NWA is old people that watched it in the 80s. It's 25-year-old males. These are guys that are discovering this brand for the first time and falling in love with it. That audience was not full of 50-year-old men who watched Ric Flair in North Carolina. It was current pro wrestling fans who fell in love with a brand that has not existed in the mainstream since 1988. That is amazing. And like, we're so proud that we were able to bring it back in a way that nobody would have predicted. There was like, oh, you guys have to have TV. You don't have to have TV now. You don't. To exist in a niche basis. To be the WWE, be worth $9 billion? Yes, you eventually have to be on TV. but we can be nimble enough that I can shoot an episode of 10 Pounds of Gold today and have it up tomorrow if I want. That's what's unique about this environment. As far as the 70th, we'll have a full show. Our idea is to celebrate our history. What that means is you have to kind of, as we'll roll it out as we get closer, but that's our intent with it.
And obviously, with Jeff Jarrett being involved with it and it being at the asylum and all that kind of stuff, I mean, could there be nods to NWA Total Nonstop Action? Not in a sense that it's like a TNA thing, but almost like, because that era of TNA almost is not thought of as TNA. It's a very weird thing. So is there a chance that you can explore that in a way?
I think if talents are available, like we've licensed a few moments from there. Like we have the Ricky Steamboat moment where he walks out with the title. I think, like I was just talking to Colt Cabana, I want to, his era of the NWA, him and Adam Pearce, I'd like to give a nod to, because it's an era that not a lot of people either know about or remember, or they have their own impression of it. I want to not that I want Shane Douglas there, but Shane Douglas, to me, we don't run from the parts of our history that many people say, ooh, that was a bad moment. It's a moment that happened. You don't hide from history. You either celebrate it or honor it, or at least acknowledge it. So for us, for 70 years of Lou Thez, Pat I mean, you've the list. I'd like to, in some way, mention or highlight as much of it as possible, because it should be celebrated. This thing is older than every other wrestling company in the United States. The fact that every major U.S. company has sort of flown off of the NWA. I say it's the Amazon River, because WWF title came off of it, ECW, AWA, TNA. It's insane that this title has existed in so many places and that people still love it. It's insane.
Well, when you've been watching this, you'll have seen down the bottom, you can go and watch the 10 Pounds of Gold series. Go back to the beginning, because I know a lot of people maybe have only checked out the All In stuff, but if you go back, like the Tim Storm stuff, the Nick
We're
Aldis.
probably at like 35 episodes now, I think, by the time this airs, and it's there. My goal was to document the journey from the start. So, like, you could pick it up anywhere and try to make it as chronological and serialized as possible, and that, because we all see the wrestling business from a certain angle, and I want the audience to be able to see it that same way.
Yeah, so you can kind of in a Netflix way, in some ways you can pick it up where you want to. You can also check the beginning. It's all down there. On Twitter, you're at Lagana.
Yep, at Lagana.
At Lagana. So yeah, Dave, thanks for joining us. And check out the 70th anniversary of the NWA on FITE. We'll see you soon.